Well, lots been going on. We're 5 days out from the anniversary of Trump terrorizing all of us, really.
You know, it's been so quiet this last week of, Trump showing unexpected maturity in governance, a sense of probity and dignity that we'd rarely expected, and a president who's living up. Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. I was briefly visiting the alternate universe in which none of us live anymore.
I would like to live there.
I would love to live there.
Like in Everything Everywhere All at Once, do I just need to do something really weird to jump timelines?
Right. I just want something that will cause an altered timeline. And
please,
maybe that's McDonald's.
Maya, we're quantum shifting. We're quantum shifting today.
I've got my crystals out. I was like, please let me get there.
So how have you guys been dealing with Twitter this week? All the stuff that we're gonna go over. Tonight's mostly gonna be about ICE because it's been a wild, horrifying week in Minneapolis.
Murder fans and cheerleaders of Nazism were basically my takeaway on Twitter this week.
Yeah, I like to believe they're bots because I'd like to believe.
Oh no, I've come to believe that the bots are actually now less crazy than the real human beings.
But where do they find the time and the hate? Like the time and the hate. It seems so.
Listen, hate is an abundant natural resource in the United States of America in the year of our Lord 2025.
They're multitasking.
and as for time, I mean, I just think that they have built. I mean, all joking aside for a second, they have built this little cultural bubble for themselves where if they're like, ha, I'm going to make fun of the lesbian who got shot in the head, radical terrorist. If they can do that, that makes them feel less like they have chronic ED and an unhappy home life and are miserable, sorry, sumbitch assholes. I mean, I really think that they've managed to substitute guilt and shame for cruelty and evil.
We need to bring back hobbies like.
And by the way, yes, I know I'm wearing a vest inside. First off, my office is cold. Second off, it's going to be in the low 20s here in Tallahassee, Florida tonight. Ooh. And third off, it's about to snow here this weekend in North Florida. I don't know if you've prepared yourselves for snow as Floridians ever, but the fur coats are out at 70 degrees. The dog sleds are on sale at Home Depot right now. But literally people are like freaking out at a level you can't even imagine because snow is coming.
Meanwhile, I have my shoulders out, so.
Yeah, see?
Love that for you. Well, we'll fashion police Rick maybe in the lightning round if we have room for a fashion.
I don't have all my lights on tonight, or you could see my very handsome vest.
That's a shame.
I know.
Are you guys ready to get into it? So
are we all wearing black not on purpose? I just want everybody to know.
I'm wearing dark. Well, the sweater is black, but the vest is dark green.
Okay.
Quilted though.
I'm gonna say we're mourning the everything. Yeah. It's a quilted vest.
It's quilted.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get into the ice of it all, I want to quickly talk about what is going on at the Fed. So it is no secret that Trump has been unhappy with Fed Chair Jerome Powell for quite a while, mainly because he refuses to lower interest rates. Trump has been openly threatening Powell for over a year, and that all came to fruition on Sunday night when news broke that Trump's DOJ would be launching an investigation into Jerome Powell. The investigation is supposedly related to his congressional testimony last summer over ongoing renovations at the Federal Reserve building that had gone over budget because Trump famously cares about not wasting taxpayer money on federal building renovations.
I was like, the irony.
I've heard about something in this regard before, but I can't quite put my golden finger on it.
He's going to turn it into a ballroom, actually. It's going to be rival ballrooms.
So soon after the news broke about this, Powell released a video statement. Let's take a look at some of that.
Okay.
Good evening. On Friday, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June. I have deep respect for the rule of law and for accountability in our democracy. No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation. Public service sometimes requires standing firm in the face of threats. I will continue to do the job the Senate confirmed me to do, with integrity and a commitment to serving the American people. Thank you.
So can you guys explain a little bit about what is going on here with the Fed? What does Trump want? Why does he want it? And like what happens when a nation's bank is politicized?
Well, first off, let me just say that Jerome Powell is the OG here. That is a guy who just could not give less of a minute, tiny fractional nanoparticle of a shit about Donald Trump. Trump went for the hardest thing he could do, which is grand jury threat, FBI and DOJ investigation threat. And Powell's reaction was basically like, nah, bro, that's okay. And that's good because central banks in every country should be independent. They should not be designed for a political outcome for the leadership of the country. And look, every president wants something out of the Fed. They want them to either raise or lower interest rates to either juice or slow the economy. Powell has been in that Goldilocks zone here, trying not to crush the economy, but also trying to, lower rates judiciously when he can. But Trump's entire play here is just so juvenile and so dumb. And of course, when you get down to it, Powell didn't blink. Most of Washington, including Trump's own allies in the Senate, were like, no, you should leave Powell be, dude. That's not cool. But one of the things that you got to also remember here is this case is being brought by Jeanine Pirro, Judge Box of Wine.
Box wine. I was like, where's the box wine?
As we call her. Judge Franzia. And so Powell himself knows this. And so he's not looking at this as like a serious legal threat. The guy's got lawyers for days. But this really is very typical of where Trump's at right now as president, where he believes everybody works for him, including the Federal Reserve, which has never been that way, not how any of this has ever worked. And it really is it's an attack on the independence of the Fed, but Powell's response to it in some ways is so perfect because he's not all like hot and bothered and freaked out. He's just like, no,
Well,
that ain't it, chief.
and that's the thing, Rick. It's the most chilling video. Like he's so
Right.
chill about it, and yet the content
Oh
of
yeah,
it is
these guys
actually
are going to try to
really
put me in
kinda
jail.
scary.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah. But the fact that he did it, in a way, it reminds me of like, hey, if I go falling out of a window, just so you know, here's the statement
Right.
that I have on this.
Right. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't lead it up with, just so everyone knows I am not suicidal.
Right? Like I had that vibe. And just for the average person, like we're having to hear way too much about the Fed right now. Like most people do not want to hear this much about the Federal Reserve, what it does.
Monetary policy, look, I'm a nerd and everything, but even I go like, oh, monetary policy. I cannot wait to not discuss that all day long.
I think it's like this is the thing that the Trump administration is doing for everybody is we're being forced to learn about the intricacies of everything that should be independent that's not. So silver lining, we're learning together.
It's an apocalypse, but we're smarter than ever.
I think that's a lovely place to leave it.
Let's do that.
As
Since
we
we do have actual evil to cover this week, as opposed to just bone stupidity.
Right. So last week we were here in the immediate aftermath of an ICE agent killing Renee Good, shooting her 3 times in the face at point blank range. Since then, ICE has shown no signs of slowing down their operations in Minneapolis, fomenting violence all over the city. I want to give a quick content warning. It is upsetting what you are about to watch, but these are just a few of the dozens of clips circulating this week
Dozens.
from Minneapolis.
Ya me torcieron en la movida, entre un callejón y sin salida.
What's your name? What's your name?
Jonathan Aguilar Garcia. I'm literally a U.S. citizen.
Give us a
I'm
phone
literally a
number.
U.S. citizen.
Get the fuck out of here, Ace.
Why are you kidnapping our citizen?
This guy right here, they let him out of the vehicle. They tortured him. This guy right here, yeah. Tortured. You okay, man? No, I'm not okay. Bro, shit's crazy. My man's bleeding. Bleeding. They slammed me on the ground.
This and January 6th will always be Donald Trump's legacy. This is what he's doing to America. When I watch this, all I can see is pain and more pain. And I'm so disgusted. And yet at the same time, I'm so proud of the people of Minneapolis for getting out there and standing up for their community and saying, we're not going to tolerate this.
I am, as most of our viewers know, fairly famously blunt. I want every one of these people from ICE and DHS and Border Patrol and Customs and Homeland and whatever other alphabet agencies are there on the ground. I want their names. I want their faces to be public. I want them to be criminally accountable. I want them to be accountable on civil charges by the people they are abusing. This is absolutely not America. This is,
and yet it is.
Yeah, and yet it is. And the people that are cheerleading this in our society, and there are many, many people who are cheerleading the murder of Renee Good and cheerleading the brutality you're seeing against American citizens by a secret police force in this country. I really want to know if they really believe that this represents the best values of America. This represents the Constitution. This represents the country they want to live in. Because there's a problem with secret police forces. They always grow, they always expand, and they always turn on the people who think that they're never going to be the target.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I see these Suburbans and it reminds me of the Ford Falcon from Argentina. And soon black Suburbans are going to be synonymous with taking people, snatching them and disappearing them. Just the fact that people have to shout out their names to make sure that they don't disappear into a system. And what people need to understand is that when fascism takes hold, for maybe the people who aren't in that neighborhood or who aren't near it, they're just going on like life is normal as usual. And so I'm sure there are many people in communities outside of Minneapolis that are going on as if life is as usual, but it will catch up to your city because this has just begun. And so if it doesn't get stopped, we're a year into it, the budget really hasn't even been fully implemented. Right. So can you imagine if this is what it looks like now, the trajectory of where it will be?
And one of the things that's happening in DC right now is Democrats are like, oh no, we're not going to do a shutdown.
They better shut.
You know why? You know why? Because ICE has to be funded, obviously. If you believe that ICE is a force of evil in America, and I do, if you believe that the men at the head of ICE and the women at the head of ICE should be in prison, not flying around in private jets around the country, laughing at Americans who they are torturing and kidnapping, and you fund them, you're a collaborator. You're not a leader, you're a collaborator. And that is what we're hearing that Chuck Schumer is saying. No, we've got to do a legislative process to make sure that we do burn it down, shut it down. Because if you don't, what Donald Trump said this week about not needing elections, maybe we should sit and have an election. He starts it out as a joke, then it becomes a policy, and then it becomes a government implemented plan.
Yeah, and that joke that he's been floating, if you remember back when he said to evangelical audiences, I just need you to vote this time, and you won't have to vote anymore. You just vote.
You won't
this
have to vote ever again. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's past being a joke at this point. They're clearly going to try to suppress the vote, but which is why we need everyone registering and getting on it right now, checking your voter registration, because they sure as shit are going to try and do what they can to keep these numbers of people from turning out. Which, by the way, Minneapolis has incredibly high voter turnout compared to the rest of the nation, upwards of 80%, which it's a very engaged population. They care.
Let me say this. I think we are about to see, and I want people to be prepared for this because I know this isn't cheerful. This isn't a happy talk for the audience here tonight. We are about to see ICE escalate the violence. That is the purpose of this violence. It is to scare you. It is to scare the crap out of Americans so they don't stand up and say, this is insane. I'm not part of this. They want you to scare. They want you to stay home. They want you to stay out of the political process. And you know what? I'm sorry. As for me, I decline their bullshit.
Yeah. I think we're back at that do not obey in advance sort of thing. Well, now they're here trying to force people to obey, but that's why it's so important to exercise our First Amendment right of filming ICE. They don't.
Well, interestingly, one of the people they arrested this week, an American citizen with a concealed carry permit, who had the legal right to carry his firearm, was not engaged in violence, was just picked up off the street because he sounded Hispanic. They took his firearm. I was told that the liberals are going to seize all of the guns. That's what I was told. I heard that at some point, several thousand times. And yet it's ICE taking people's firearms. Intriguing.
Yeah, they had in that montage, there were two clips back to back of the same guy. He, the one who gave his name, who was kidnapped from the Target. He was taken from there. He was a teenager, saying that he was a citizen. They drove him around for about 10 minutes, roughed him up, figured out that he was a citizen, and ultimately dumped him in a Walmart parking lot. And that's where the second clip picks up.
Dear God.
That's the kind of trauma that people will live with for the rest of their lives. And and
again, I think this is one of those things where we have to remember, and we're going to bring in somebody who's much more brilliant about legal things than I am, because I'm not a lawyer, nor do I play one on the TV. There are going to be both criminal possibilities for these people and civil possibilities for these people that they're engaged in violence against, and state charges against these people that Trump can't pardon. And that is something that state attorneys general better get on the stick about. They need to be, these people are engaged in kidnapping, in abuse at levels that, if I may sound like Trump, that we've never seen before. And it is time for the constitutional premise of the 10th Amendment, which is that anything not in the Constitution, the states get to run. Well, the states need to be running their counter ICE programs much more aggressively. And Trump saying he's going to impose the Insurrection Act, that is a big bridge, and it may happen. But at this point, folks, we need to have the fight rather than just being afraid.
I think it's really rich for him to try to invoke the Insurrection Act, given that we're just
the
a
only
week after the
president
anniversary of January 6th.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Who really shot for the insurrection, gold medal.
So in the aftermath of Renee Good's killing, administration officials have responded, including Trump. Why don't we take a look at that? I want to hear what you guys have to say about this.
And this administration will continue to stand wholeheartedly by the brave men and women of ICE, including that officer in Minneapolis who was absolutely justified in using self-defense against a lunatic who was part of a group, an organized group, to interject and to impede on law enforcement operations. And it's disgusting what we have seen from the left.
But these are professional agitators, and law enforcement should not be in a position where they have to put up with this stuff. What that woman and what her friend and what their other friends were doing to law enforcement, not just ICE, law enforcement is outrageous.
Is anyone who protests ICE a domestic terrorist in the eyes of the administration?
I can't say that. It's a case-by-case basis, but if you look up the definition of terrorism, it certainly can fall within that.
If you look at what the definition of domestic terrorism is, it completely fits the situation on the ground. This individual, as you saw in the video that we released just 48 hours after this incident, showed that this officer was hit by her vehicle, she weaponized it, and he defended his life and those colleagues around him and the public.
Before you guys react to that, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to cut in. I just want to show, because we didn't show it in the first part, since we reviewed the footage from that killing last week, the video from the officer's phone has been released. Yeah. And I would like to share that before we enter this discussion, and then
I have a comment about that from a gun perspective when we do. But go ahead.
Can't wait.
And another content warning for everyone.
Yes, thank you, Maya.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking veteran. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
Oh!
Fucking bitch.
I want you guys to know he changed his camera hand. He took the camera out of his right hand and put it in his left hand so he could withdraw his weapon. You can hear on the video the holsters are made of a material called Kydex. You can hear the gun coming out of the holster before he walks in front of the car. He planned to kill her from the moment Renee Good's partner sassed him and said, "Why don't you get some lunch, big boy?" He knew he was going to kill her. And I am sorry, Keith Ellison and the investigators in Minnesota have been denied all access to the crime scene materials. FBI and Homeland have hidden. They've taken her body, will not give her access to her body or the autopsy. They will not give them access to the vehicle. They will not give them access to other body cameras from other officers on the site or other cell phone cameras because other officers were also taping. You hear that gun come out of that holster. That was intent. He was not threatened when he took the gun out. He wasn't even in front of the car when he took the gun out. Jonathan Ross is a fucking murderer. Jonathan Ross should be in prison right now. He should be in jail right now on charges of murder. The fact that he is not is this country breaking down into an authoritarian hellhole. And I am truly at a point where I want this administration to end. I wrote a piece about this last week called How It Stops and How It Ends. Unless many of these people from the bottom of ICE who are in the streets abusing the rights of American citizens to the top with Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller and Pam Bondi and Tom Homan and that little Keebler elf Greg Bovino, unless those people are taken to trial and held accountable, we will get more of this. This will spread and it will not stop.
One thing I want to say is that a man who is fearing for his life doesn't immediately, after shooting someone, say fucking bitch. I'm sorry. That's
right. Her last words were, dude, I'm not even mad at you. His last words about her were fucking bitch. I can tell you, let me tell you, I tweeted this out that day. Every one of us has known a guy who sounds like that, who has that tone about women. Every one of us has known somebody like that, where it's always the fucking bitch. I mean, it just.
But no remorse, no like, oh shit, what did I just do?
Like, oh dear God, what have I done?
Nothing like that.
No, not a bit. Oh no, that would be admitting, some sort of humanity, frankly.
Yeah,
and
he's acting as if he knows that the administration will have his back.
He does know. He knows that. He's 100% right. He's 100% right. This administration is going to give this guy a six-figure, reward and a cushy job. He will never, and they will protect him until the last dog dies, which is just astounding.
And they're also, when Enrique Tarrio shows up at your door because he has enlisted as an ICE agent. They will protect him as well. So with the full weight of the federal government behind these agents on the streets of your city, abducting citizens, it's important to know your rights. So at this time, I would like to bring in our lead counsel, Mario Nicolais, to let us know what we can do. Mario, in the face of
in my case, what I'm not allowed to do.
Yeah, for Rick, please tell him what not to do. What can people at home do? This is a question that we get all the time. What can they do, and what are their rights? Also, welcome to the breakdown.
Well,
hey, Mario.
Thanks for having me. Being sandwiched between these two is, an absolute honor. Also, a tad bit scary. So, look, I think the question is, what can we do, and what rights do we have? But also, what are the best practices? I think Maya, probably as a woman of color, understands just because you have rights does not protect you in these situations where the government is absolutely lawless. And that's what we're doing. Let's be very clear. Jonathan Ross, horrible human being who I agree meant to kill her, meant to shoot her. But it was the administration's reaction that was the really chilling thing, because they created thousands more Jonathan Rosses. When all of those ICE agents know that they can engage, that they can do anything up to and including shooting and killing a human being, then there's no violence that they won't go through. So, here's the issue. We've got rights. And it depends on whether you're an immigrant, what your legal status is, or whether you're a U.S. citizen. So I'm going to go, because I think the vast majority of people right now, we're talking about U.S. citizens who are filming people like Renee Good and her wife, not her friend, Donald Trump, by the way, as you refer to her on Air Force One, you refer to her as her friend. That's her wife. That is her mourning widow, you asshole. Sorry, don't know if I'm allowed to say that here, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Oh, you're allowed to say that here.
Anyway, people like that, you're a U.S. citizen, you do have rights, but understand in a lawless situation like this, these guys are looking for any reason why they can assault you, why they can come at you, why they can shoot at you, why they can tear gas you. And so you're trying to avoid that sort of thing. Film at a distance. Use your phone's zoom in technique. Make sure you're uploading to the cloud. Make sure that you're obeying local law enforcement when they're asking you to do something. If you're pushed away, do not push back. If you strike an officer, you're giving them all the reason they want to come and attack you. And sometimes they're going to attack you anyway. Look at the guy at the gas station who was doing nothing but filming, then shoved away, put into cuffs, and then carried away by 4 officers. and they're all going to have each other's back. And
Which
so
I noticed he was not striking them, but when the officer pushed him down to the ground, the guy, that's when they decided that they could arrest him. Because then they could say, "Oh, he's attacking us."
Oh, I don't know if he pushed him to the ground. He pushed him, and then he grabbed him by the head and put his knee into his face.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you want to call that a push,
little George Floyd action there for you.
Right.
So Mario, once people have the footage, what should they do with it? Because I'm assuming this is evidence. What can one do once they've gotten this? Did they just put it out there in socials? Do they send it to the district attorney? What do they do with it?
I think you can do all that. I think you can put it out in social media. People can contact you. I think you should call your local law enforcement, say, I have this video, and submit it to them. File a report with them. Make sure that they have the evidence. Because I think that's one of the things we're seeing too. And this is, again, towards the lawlessness. Most folks who are engaged in this can never remember a time when federal law enforcement refused to cooperate with local and state law enforcement. So all these people who talked about state rights for so long, and right now they're all about the federal law enforcement, because the federal jackboots are the ones who are out there murdering people, shooting gas at them, becoming physically violent with others. And remember, a lot of these guys aren't trained. I mean, Enrique Terrio is not just not trained; he's trained just to engage in violence. That's all he's been doing for forever. He certainly doesn't have a degree in law enforcement. He hasn't gone to an academy or anything of that nature. He's watching a video that he's probably ignoring the whole time. Half of these folks, have a high school diploma or a GED maybe, and are out there without so much more than that and attacking U.S. citizens. So we have to know what we have to do to protect ourselves in that situation. And again, that's making sure you don't put them in a situation where they can make a claim that they are in self-defense, or a claim that you're obstructing them somehow. And that's why I need to urge everyone here to be careful. Be careful when you're dealing with these guys. They are lawless. Don't put yourself within arm's reach of these guys. I mean, that'd be one of my very first comments is, do not be within arm's reach of an ICE agent. Because as you saw, they will take advantage of that. Other best practices, if you do get detained, I think as horrible as it was seeing that guy dragged out of Target, he did it exactly right, and the people around him did it exactly right. They were filming as it happened. He said, "This is my name. I'm a U.S. citizen. You must say those things." It wouldn't be a bad idea to carry your passport on you so you can prove that you're a U.S. citizen. Something to that nature, so you have it right away in case it comes out. Because here's the thing, it turns into people disappearing into black Suburbans and not reappearing again if people aren't filming this, if people aren't saying, "This is my name, this is who I am." That's the way that you protect yourself, and you get dropped off in some random Walmart parking lot later, which is horrible and awful and is trauma that this guy will never get over. But is certainly better than the other outcome that we've seen in a lot of places.
So since so many of these guys have masks on, Mario, should people try to video and get their face? I mean, if they're swapping out license plates and using, sometimes cars without plates, what's the best way to make sure people are able to even identify these officers so that they can be held accountable later?
Well, and it is flawlessness. And in fact, that's right now, actually, Minnesota, St. Paul, and Minneapolis are suing ICE and the federal government, and they're using a law that they have that bars masks from being worn there to try to say, hey, you cannot wear those masks. A lot of attorney generals across the country doing that exact thing and trying to enforce that. I think you film them as best you can. You get as many angles as you can, whatever identifying features you can. Certainly do not reach over and grab a mask. That is a good way to get yourself into a lot of trouble and going from. I mean, you can yell, "What's your name? Who are you?" They're not going to answer. But it's one of those things where the more identifying features you can get, hopefully one day, and that's what I'm going to say. And I know that's not the answer everyone wants to know, but One day we bring them all into accountability. One day we had gathered this evidence up and we say, okay, now we've got the information. We're coming after all these folks. Because, remember, a lot of these statute limitations, they run more than 4 years. Certainly, Jonathan Ross
for murder.
find out murder does not have a statute of limitations.
Right.
And what about, so they're staying in hotels, Hilton, hello. They're staying in hotels. They've got to eat. I don't know if their room names are on the hotels. As far as legality goes, because I know a lot of people are protesting outside of the hotels, can somebody check into the hotel and take pictures of them at breakfast? Like, what is that? Because it's on private property, would that be considered illegal to do?
It's not illegal to do. You can certainly take pictures. You can do things of that nature. You could be asked by the proprietor to leave or something of that nature if you were doing that, if they complained. Also, there are a lot of First Amendment laws about what you can do on sidewalks and things of that nature. I know I saw one thing where they found a hotel and they were playing a lot of drums and loud music outside. Now, you could be cited by local law enforcement, for noise violations and things of that nature if you're doing that. But I think some of the local law
I suspect you'll be okay
really
if you're in the great state
to
of
show up
Minnesota.
to those sorts of things. They got better things to do, like trying to research murders that they're not getting any help to review. So I think there are those kinds of things that are not illegal. If you're doing them in public areas, you are fine. I think you can absolutely do those sorts of things. I think you can be at hotels and try to take pictures of that. Be careful. Don't get in the way. Don't stand in the way of one of those black Suburbans, because they'll try to run you down and say, "Oh, they were obstructing." I would be very careful about how you go about it. But you don't want to give them any chance to come after you.
So, Mario, I have a question that I think a listener actually texted or messaged me about this, and it is the question of whether ICE can enter the home of a U.S. citizen without with only using one of their ICE warrants, not an actual judicial warrant.
No.
I just want to make sure we put that out there because people are confused about that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about warrants really fast. And jurisdiction of ICE. First of all, ICE has no jurisdiction other than over non-U.S. citizens. The only very limited amount they can exercise is if you are obstructing in some way. And so that's why they're trying to make it into a mile wide sort of thing and claim everything's obstructing. That's why you're hearing that. Second of all, about warrants, they can't enter any home, U.S. citizen or otherwise, without a judicial warrant. So this is what you do. You do not open the door. You don't crack it open to talk to them. You don't do anything there. You talk through the door. And you tell them that they're not allowed to come in unless they have a judicial warrant. If they say they've got it, you say, fine, slip it under the door. If they can't slip it under the door, then you say, hold it up against the window so I can see it and walk through it. And you need to look to make sure that it's signed by a judge, not by simply ICE, not one of their I'm an ICE officer sort of thing, but by a judge. Because, that is one thing, at least that's one area so far where they have not been able to overcome Article 3 judges and our rights country is in your own home and domicile.
Can they be on your lawn, on your private property? Can you tell them to get off?
You can tell them to get off. They might not necessarily have to. It's really going into the home where you're absolutely protected. But if they won't get off and they don't leave, call your local law enforcement and say this person is trespassing on my property. This person's trespassing on my property and they're threatening me. I've asked for a warrant. They haven't provided it. Please come and escort them off my property.
There's a man here with a gun threatening me.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. There's a masked man with a gun threatening.
Masked man with a gun.
Men with a gun outside on my property and will not leave, though I've asked them to leave.
In Tim Walls's video, he mentions that they're going door to door and asking people to point out neighbors that are of color, which to me seems astoundingly illegal, cruel, all of those things. Is it?
So a couple things. It's not illegal for them to ask, but they can in no way force you to do that. It's disgusting and it's foul. And you have in fact every single person, whether you're a citizen or not, has a right to silence. Let's just remember that. And that doesn't just mean when you're under arrest. That means period. You do not have to talk to law enforcement at all if you do not want. And so you can just say, you know what, I'm not going to talk to you.
By the way, one of the lessons I taught my children, literally from the time that they were babies, toddlers, don't talk to the cops. That's not because they're doing anything wrong. It's not because they're doing anything wrong. It's because don't talk to the cops. There's nothing good that comes of it.
Yeah. That's a good rule. I've always told people that too. The only time you talk to the cops is when you called them.
Right.
That's the only time you talk to the cops. If they're asking you and investigating, that's because they're trying to figure out what happened, and they might have you as someone who they're considering. So don't talk to them. The only things you say is, I'm invoking my Fifth Amendment right to silence and lawyer.
I'd like to speak to my attorney.
I'd like to speak to my attorney, and then you go from there. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's they're pushing lines and they're pushing boundaries. They're absolutely doing that. You do have the right to remain silent. You don't have to go from there. But I do, Maya, because you brought it up, I want to point out the foulness of some of this. It's called a Kavanaugh stop. And I don't think you can say Kavanaugh stop enough times because the Kavanaugh stop was created by Justice Kavanaugh. And it's called the Kavanaugh stop because the Kavanaugh stop is something that is done.
I see what you're doing there, young man.
Yeah. Well, you know, he's apparently he's real pissed off that it's called the Kavanaugh stop, and then people call it the Kavanaugh stop because, in fact, he
invented the Kavanaugh stop.
Right.
Yeah.
He's going down right now, right alongside the guy who wrote Plessy, Plessy v. Ferguson, as probably the most racist thing that any justice has written in 150 years. So
Korematsu.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. So
Plessy was more racist than Korematsu
years ago. But
Korematsu was just shitty on a whole separate level.
Yeah, but I mean, the Kavanaugh stop basically gives them the right to stop people based on their race and what they look like, and you know, and maybe what they sound like or where they're coming from. But really, all they're doing is stopping you because of your race. I mean, it's been something that we have said is patently illegal for decades. I mean, you know, plenty of men and women fought and bled and died during the civil rights era. And frankly, I mean, I'm glad that John Lewis wasn't around to see the Kavanaugh stop come up because I can't even. It probably would have killed him when he saw it.
Yeah.
And they fought to stop that, and now we've got it implemented again. So understand they are doing that. They are pushing that. Kavanaugh tried to rewrite it again later, but it's just hasn't taken root because these guys, once they have an inch, they take a mile. And it's the same thing with once they have the cover of the administration and Kristi Noem saying it was in defense and Trump saying it's defense and
J.D. Vance saying absolute immunity.
Yeah, J.D. Vance getting off his couch in several ways and saying, you know, they've got absolute immunity. You know,
but to be very clear, if I'm driving through the streets of Minneapolis as a Black woman, I'm driving, they see me, they can legally, because she's got a big forehead, maybe she's, you know, not from here, she's
maybe
Black,
she's Somali.
She looks Somali. Well, no, a lot of people from Ethiopia ask me if I'm Ethiopian. Somalians ask me if I have Somali family members. So I immediately, when they started going after the Somali community, I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to be anywhere near Minneapolis. So legally, they can stop me. It's not harassment. It's just, we're just checking. And if I don't have my passport on me, I might just get detained. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah,
and that's
what I'm telling you. That is the wild world that we're living in right now. Is under the Kavanaugh stop and under what the level that ICE is pushing it to. That's what they're doing. And so that's where you need to make sure that you're doing things like saying, I'm a U.S. citizen. My name is Maya May. Trying to talk to any camera that goes out there. You know, I want to point out to anyone who is in that situation, you need to be really careful in a car right now because vehicles is one of the things they're using to say, oh, they're assaulting us. Renee Good was only one person who they shot because they were in a car and they said they were doing it. Happened the very next day 2 times in Portland. They're using cars and vehicles as weapons that they're saying now, even if you're reversing and then trying to pull around someone, which is exactly what you saw with Renee Good. So you need to be really careful. You need to be, if you are not in park, you need to tell the officer, I'm putting it in park, just putting it in park, moving slowly. If you reach for your passport or something, do not panic and move, jerking movement. Tell them what you're doing and moving through them there. I mean, look, Maya, this is the same thing that we've been telling anyone who's black and brown for decades, and that they've heard too, is any little movement that you do could be taken the wrong way as law enforcement, and you have to treat them always as if they are a millisecond away from shooting you if you at all appear threatening. So, I mean, know that you do have rights, and the best way to vindicate your rights is if you're still alive. And if you are someone, who can get through that process and get released, and get out of that immediate situation. That should be the goal of anyone who is being attacked by ICE, is to try to get out of that alive, because sadly, that's where we're at right now.
So Mario, if you do get out alive with ICE, I want to bring in one question we've been getting in the chat, which is, can you pursue a civil case against ICE if they rough you up?
Absolutely. There are both federal and there are state ways to go about that. There's actually a tort statute. It's and I'd have to look up the actual name of it. But when you are assaulted by an officer, you actually have a cause of action against them for doing that. I think certainly the guy who was dragged out by ICE, saying he's a U.S. citizen and saying that what his name was, he'd probably have a case. That guy who was filming, who got shoved by multiple angles of him, the guy not touching him, and then the ICE agent instigating the violence. Yeah, I think you get to sue ICE for that. And I don't know whether you'll get that guy specifically, but you certainly get to sue ICE and take a hunk out of their however $100 million that they got in the one big beautiful bill.
So that's what we can as citizens, as civilians, do about ICE. My question for the panel is, what can elected officials do? What can Congress do? What can we call Congress and demand from our elected officials?
Right now, the one thing we can do, that we can ask Congress to do today, get on the phone, call your member, call your U.S. senator, and say very clearly, shut ICE down with the budget debate, with the budget shutdown. That is the only way we are going to put the brakes on this while Trump is still president. The lawlessness of ICE is off the chain, but the apathy of Democratic leaders is more deadly and more pernicious in many ways.
Yeah, I wonder if it's even possible to say, hey, we want a moratorium on any ICE activity for 30 days. What's asking for 30 days for them to stop? Obviously, it would be they're not going to do it. But I think it's a reasonable request. And just to see them refuse that request, I think is important, too, to have on record, because they're clearly not equipped to handle the scale of operations that they're trying to pull off right now.
Well, I think that's true.
I'm going to throw into that too, not just that, but that's Congress. Call your attorneys general in your state and tell them, we want you to sue for our rights. Call your local mayor and your city council folks and say, hey, we need law enforcement to respond and to help us here, not just stand by and help these guys, because they need that public support to show, hey, look, we're on good footing to tell our guys to stand up, because I mean, talk about wild. We have people like Kristi Noem who are threatening local folks, saying, if you come after our guys, we're going to come after you. You've got
one of ours, all of yours, is what Noem said.
Yeah.
With physically standing behind a Nazi slogan.
Right.
Right.
Well, it seems they've forgotten that they're supposed to represent all of Americans, and so it's important to remind them that they do. It's shocking to me that we've gotten.
Do they though?
Yes.
But
is
well, you guys, I promised that we would stop doing negative things. And everything is so terrible.
The administration won't stop doing negative things, Kate. What are we going to do?
If they would like to stop doing
You
negative
guys
things,
wanted to have fun on the show, and I'm here to provide the fun. Mario, you are welcome, and I would encourage you to stick around for this next segment.
Well, Kate, I'm just going to say it's positively horrible. Everything's positively horrible right now. So there's a positive outlook.
Everything except for the ice on ice crime that we are fortunate to witness over the past week. So I promised I would do something light. So without further ado, here's a little segment I like to call Ice versus Ice.
Pussy! Fucking pussy! Fucking pussy! Shame on
Can we call this segment Ice Capades? That's before your time.
By the way, as your resident firearms guy, the one scene of the two officers sliding on the ice and his firearm discharges.
Saw that.
Yep.
Y'all, first off, there's absolutely no reason for that weapon to be off safety at all. They're walking down a sidewalk. Second off, there's no reason under any conceivable circumstances for the guy's finger to be on the trigger, even if it's on safety while he's walking down a sidewalk. An accidental discharge in most military or police organizations will get you suspended or fired. That was just, that astounds me, the level of unprofessionalism. And it speaks to the fact that instead of having a 5.5-week training program for indoctrination for ICE, it's now 47 days.
In honor of
month program.
It takes longer to get like a nail practitioner license, like a esthetician takes longer.
Yeah. But I do like this segment. I think it could be hilarious and fun.
Yeah. I was gonna say
more to come.
Or Disney on Ice. Nazis on Ice, Disney on Ice. It's the same thing if you think about it.
So are we allowed?
Springtime.
Are we allowed from a messaging perspective now? Do I have permission to start tweeting that ICE is the Gestapo?
Yeah.
I call them that all the time.
Yeah.
First Amendment rights, Kate. Go for broke.
Yeah, I think we can put that in writing. It's for sure.
Hey, look, if the jackboot
I think if they're going door to door,
it's not like to say
for
if the
black and
jackboot
brown
fits,
people.
wear it.
I mean, you might go so far as to say they make the Gestapo look good because some
At
of
least
these
the
guys
outfits are better.
I
not
expect
physically fit at all.
the Nazis to behave badly.
Right.
I don't expect Americans to treat Americans this way.
I mean, if Joe Rogan can say,
and he did.
Oh yeah. Why don't we take a look at that? Good call, Maya.
Oh yeah.
But you don't want militarized people in the streets just roaming around, snatching people up, many of which turn out to actually be U.S. citizens that just don't have their papers on them. Are we really going to be the Gestapo? Where's your papers? Is that what we've come to?
yes, that is what.
Gee, I'm glad Joe is finally figuring out who he voted for.
He barely is. I don't want to be too generous to him from that clip.
I'm not.
Circulating.
I'm
Well,
not being that generous.
the rest of the interview, it's him and Rand Paul just like looking for any reason to lick a boot.
Quick question, because now that I think about it with the whole militarized thing, and they're in fatigues, like they're in camouflage, but it's snowy and white outside. Isn't the
Right.
point of camouflage? Like they're not in the jungle.
Oh,
Like they're
look,
not
these
in
guys-
the
these
desert.
guys got this shit off of Amazon, most of them.
I
Okay?
think they should get those white snowsuits from Spies Like Us. I think that's what they're.
Hey, don't hate on Spies Like Us. That is one of the
Doctor?
classics of the 80s.
Oh, it's the best movie. I love that. But that's what I picture. You know, where they're copying.
That was some
on
peak
on the
Dan
test and they're
Aykroyd.
cheating,
Spies
and
Like
he's
Us was
pulling
some
out
peak
the
Dan
eye patch.
Aykroyd.
And now I have a vision of actually Ice dressed in the stuff from Dragnet. I'm going to another Dan Aykroyd movie. Goat leggings.
Oh
and
yes,
all
the
that.
goat skin pants.
Which now brings me to Mar-a-Lago and the dancing people at Mar-a-Lago. Oh my God, it's just.
I
too
mean,
much.
I did not have Mar-a-Lago furries on my bingo card.
Oh
What
yeah.
was that? Oh, the dance.
Let's-
Do we have the waltz? The rock. The with the. Dog?
I don't have the clip, but I would encourage folks to look up. And this is a great segue into what I like to call the lightning round.
Yay, the lightning round.
Mario,
forgot
would
to
you like
like
to stick
that.
around for the lightning round?
Yes,
I
you
mean,
do.
if you'll have me, sure.
Yes.
Okay.
You're in
Well,
it to win it now.
a bunch of videos circulated of people in like really like elaborate furry masks dancing at Mar-a-Lago. So that was really something. Next in the lightning round,
Super
Mike
elaborate.
Johnson called the Greenland invasion threats a quote narrative created by the media and something that hasn't come up in any briefings that he's been at.
Oh, okay. Cool story, bro.
You're like, I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that one. He always hasn't heard about it.
That's
But
the
that was
equivalent
like,
of
I
I didn't
know-
read the tweet.
There's been people have traveled to Greenland. Like it's well documented. So at this point, is he just trolling us, or is he just so desperate to just be out of the room? Like he's like, I don't in the room.
Mike Johnson is the only human being on Earth that actually takes other people's earwax and shoves it into his own ear so he doesn't have to hear it.
True
Well,
story.
in that vein with Greenland, Don Bacon has said that touching Greenland would trigger GOP support for impeachment, but like not unless if Trump is
Oh
really being
yeah.
supported.
Okay. Sure, Don.
I mean,
Like all of these guys, they talk tough until Trump looks at them cross-eyed. And I know he's on his way out and everything, but you know, come on.
But like Europe's sending, like countries are sending.
Oh yeah.
troops.
Oh no.
to-
Sweden has volunteered troops. Finland is sending troops.
I was
Never
like, but who
ever
will protect
fuck with the-
IKEA if
France
Sweden's troops are there?
yeah, never fuck with the Finns under any circumstances. But yeah, look, this
Especially
whole
if there's ice involved.
correct.
Yeah,
My
send
favorite
ice
piece
to
of
Greenland.
my favorite piece
Yeah.
of World War II or pre-World War II lore about Finland, the Russians had attacked them and everybody was freaked out, like, how are we going to survive? And there's a little piece of local poetry and it said, Russia's so big and Finland's so small. Wherever shall we find to bury them all? And that's sort of my vibe on Greenland right now. Could we take Greenland militarily? We could. Would it be a shame on our honor forever and ever? Oh yeah.
Oh, Whitney found the furry video. Let me see if this is gonna screw everything up if I play it.
Yes, please.
The way you look tonight.
Oh my
Furries.
god.
That's insane. They're dancing with the cats. They're dancing with the
Guys,
dogs.
we almost made a whole episode. We almost made it a whole episode without me ending up with yeah, Woke 2.0 is crazy. Your personas welcome at Mar-a-Lago. Woke
Right?
2.0 is going crazy. Yeah.
I have to say, of course, as a gentleman of a certain age, I have a limited understanding of furry culture. which is to say none at all.
Rick,
And
I'll
yet,
send you a podcast episode.
that's okay. I'm good. And yet, I find that the obsession on the Trump universe with anybody who has a slightly varying cultural perspective than they do, always hilarious. And yet, I wonder how they feel about Mar-a-Lago being a home to furries now. It's such a lot.
Yeah,
And
that was.
They want
that
us to
was
believe
freaky.
that place wasn't a grooming ground for Epstein.
It's a literal
Sure.
grooming ground.
Sure,
now.
man.
Sure, Don.
Very, very quickly, it's insane that so many horrible things are happening stateside that we didn't even get to like a whole segment about this. But
Wait, why are we going back to
Iran.
horrible things? I thought we
No,
were
no,
just
no,
gonna like
no,
keep
no,
it
only
fun
for a
and light.
second. I promise, lightning run. I promise, so fast. So Iran, they closed their airspace. The allies fled the embassy, and military aircrafts departed, but no strike. We thought we were going to strike Iran like today, and we didn't. Are we doing it?
I would not. I would not count on many more days of quiet in that department.
Yeah, I actually talked to a friend who flew those sorts of missions in the Air Force, and he had said it's a 26-hour mission at least. So
Yeah.
I mean, it could just because it didn't happen in the first couple hours does not mean that it's
There's a lot of staging and a lot of
Right.
you got to move a lot of tankers to support the bombers, to support the fighters, and this is we're not out of the woods yet on that. And look, I think the ironic thing or the terrible thing here is this would be exactly what the Iranians want. The Iranian government, excuse me, not the Iranian people, the Iranian government. They'd be thrilled if we would attack. They would love it. It would help them say, see, it's just us against the Zionists and the Americans. And, Trump is not a sophisticated person, but I think if we end up in a universe where we're attacking Iran without a game plan other than get the oil, we're going to set them back. And I want Iran to be free. I want to see these people liberated from these unbelievable, evil, theocratic extremists that have crushed that country for 47 years.
For a second, I thought you were talking about us, the U.S., because it's so ironic that.
Us lecturing other people on human rights right now is pretty rich.
What's the record for someone being given someone else's Nobel Peace Prize and then bombing another country? Like,
right?
Yeah, I think it's going to about to be 1-0.
Also, that's non-transferable. It's like an invitation to somebody's wedding. You can't just give the Nobel Peace Prize.
I'm on the groom now.
Yeah, that's wild. Well, Maya, I swore that would be quick, and I'm going back to fun for our last lightning round item. Trump was touring a Ford plant, I believe, and someone shouted at him, called him a pedophile protector, and he flipped them off. Let's take a look at that. Awesome.
So presidential.
You know what? God bless that guy who did that, because it reminds. And I had interestingly, I was talking to somebody this morning who said I was joking with him about it, and he said, actually think about it seriously for a moment. That guy is Trump's base.
Yeah,
that guy should be a hardcore Trump supporter and fan. That guy demographically should be all in for Donald Trump, and yet clearly the Epstein files have broken through with a lot of people that should be his supporters and who no longer are. Just a thought. It's an interesting observation, I thought.
He's so much more serious than me, because honestly, I had to watch that video 3 times to see his tiny little micro finger.
Right? His wee little lemur paw.
It was like, was that his middle finger or a pinky? What was that?
But all right, one last question before we go, because Rick, you've been compromised. The chat has noticed the tooth, and people are concerned.
Oh,
can you
God.
please?
Yes, folks. I broke out a tooth over the holidays. Not just broke it out. I broke it out side to side and top to bottom, and they're going to replace it shortly. I apologize for showing you the gap in my current dentition, but some stupid accidents are stupid accidents, and here we are. So I had it removed. I went in on New Year's Eve to try to get something taken care of. They could not. It needed actual oral surgery. So between New Year's Eve and the next Monday, I was enjoying a world of interesting pain without pain medication. And then then they yanked the whole thing out, and it's got to rest for a few weeks before they can put an implant in.
The
So that's where I'm at.
The chat is speculating. The chat is speculating that you may be actually running an underground fight club.
Yeah,
that is actually the real answer, and I've deceived you all with my.
In solidarity, we all have to black out a tooth, similar to like when everybody's walking around with maxi pads on their ears.
Maxi pad on his tooth.
Devoted Lincoln Project supporters, everyone knock a tooth out this week.
No, please don't. I beg of you. Oh well, it was the illusion was bound to fail, folks. I had the mic up here like for days. I just finally got.
You're just an animated speaker. All right, guys. I think we covered it all. Did I miss anything?
I think we covered everything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mario, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Yeah, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. It was great.
Glad you stayed for the lightning round.
Yeah, always a good time. All right. Well, we will see everyone back here next week, same time, same place.
Yay.
This has been The Breakdown.
See you next week.